Are taxes too high? How would you improve the federal tax system? Congressman Brady?
Yes, we are an overtaxed nation. People pay far too much of what they earn to government at every level, state, local, and federal level. As I've told you, I believe we need to scrap this tax code. It is so complex. It is so punishing. You shouldn't be afraid of your own government when you file your taxes each year. I really believe one of the key, we need to make lots of changes. And the flat tax, that would be a good step forward. But I think if we really want to change our tax system, it really lights a fire under our economy and gives our children a much better tax code than we ever dreamed of. It really is that national sales tax. That's why I am one of about, I think, 35 or 40 co-sponsors of it. Also, and we've seen this attack by the Obama administration and Speaker Pelosi, but we are getting to have one of the worst business climates in the world. Other countries have ripped a page book from us, lower taxes, lower regulations, more flexible workforce. They're doing what America used to do. We have introduced House Conservatives legislation to lower the corporate tax rate, to lower the capital gains rate, sometimes to zero out. In fact, that's what we presented to President Obama when he said, I want to spend $800 billion on a stimulus. We said no one's falling for those gimmicks. Real tax relief for real businesses and people will create jobs, and we are going to fight. We're going to fight every effort to tax small businesses like the Obama health care plan does, to tax professionals, energy companies, real estate partnerships, Vicki, who build our apartments and industries here in Montgomery County. Yes, we tax far too much in America, and if we want to retain our prosperity, we've got to lower them. And by the way, I'm proud to have voted for $3 trillion of tax relief for everyone in this room.
Turned it down on me, didn't you? Our taxes are absolutely way too high, and we know that everybody feels the pain that we have. So the question becomes, what do you do about it? And Congressman Brady talked about the different taxes. Here's the problem. There's one little problem with the fair tax, the national sales tax, and it's just a little one. It's called the 16th Amendment. It gives the federal government the right to tax you on income. Okay? That means if we have income tax and sales tax, you at least get taxed twice on the same money. Possibly a couple of hundred times, because the sales tax applies to every vendor along the way who's purchased a product. So you could be taxed astronomically higher. We have to repeal the 16th Amendment before we have a fair tax like a national sales tax. Otherwise, the government is going to tax you to death. And believe me, if nobody here knows the history of the government, I mean, it always grows bigger. They always want to tax more. They always raise things. Unacceptable. A flat tax is a good way to go. It's a good way to go right now. Until we can repeal that, it's the only way to go, to simplify the tax code, get the government out, create the economic environment. When they talk about the economic environment that we still don't have, the taxes are going up, they're not going down. China, the capital gains tax, 0. We want to match them for investments, match China for 0. Corporate margins tax, we're between 25 and 30% right now. They're talking about taking it up 35, 40. Ireland, 12.5. We want to compete across the world, take our corporate margins tax to 12.5. There's also a proposal on the board right now to help get jobs started, help get jobs created, and get the economy rolling. Take the withholding, cut it in half for the businesses and for the employees. Instant money in your pocket. You take home more every day. And it also teaches you, and teaches a lot of Americans, just how much they pay the federal government. And when we pay that much to the government, it means we have to stop spending.
We just heard we heard a couple different positions. I agree with Kevin Brady on fair tax. We need a consumption tax versus an income tax. Now, it is accurate that we have the 16th Amendment, which enables the government to tax our income, but doesn't mean that they have to tax our income. If we change the people who we send to Congress in 2010 or 2012 maybe we could get them to cut that out and start filtering in, or maybe even completely eliminating the federal income tax and addressing the sales tax at that point in time. Now, that being the case, why do we need to have our taxes so high anyway? Corporate and income, personal income taxes. Because the spending is ridiculous. If we can address the spending side of things, then we don't need to tax as much. So regardless of whether or not we go with income tax or fair tax or flat tax, we'll be okay. Because we can balance our budget because the spending is a lot lower. There's two sides to this equation. It was pretty simple. It was simple addition and subtraction that I learned in accounting. As long as it balances to zero at the end of the day, we're all happy. So let's talk about cutting that spending, and then we'll talk about what we want to do with our taxes. I think we need to repeal the 16th Amendment and get away from that income tax, because when it was first initiated, it was 1% with a maximum of, I believe, 4% taxation, and quickly, within just a matter of years, got to the highest tax bracket of 78% and a minimum of 7%. So we need to make sure that we do some kind of reform. Flat tax is a step in the right direction. Fair tax is a step in the right direction. But we definitely need to address both the taxes and the spending problem. And we can't send the same people to Washington if we want that to happen.
Yes, to address, I do believe that we are overtaxed. And the reason why is because our nation is overspending. We have to collect, the government collects all this taxes to pay for all of the ridiculous spending. You know, bridges to nowhere, turtle tunnels, you know, all these valuable, you know, items that the government says that we need. We need to cut taxes in several areas that would stimulate economic growth. One of those would be capital gains taxes on foreclosures. Okay? Let's say we cut the capital gains tax on foreclosures. That would encourage investors to buy a foreclosed home, fix it up, renovate it, and resell it to somebody else who can buy a home that's more affordable. The investor makes money. The homeowner buys a home that's of lesser value than a new one, and an abandoned home gets back on the tax rolls. That's what we need to do. We need to look for ways to where we can cut taxes, but you also have to address the spending. If we're spending like there's no tomorrow, which is right around the corner, unfortunately, we'll never be able to reduce taxes. They go hand in hand. You have to cut spending in order to cut taxes. Or if you cut taxes, that will reduce a lot of the spending. Get rid of some of these federal agencies, privatize areas of the government that need to be privatized.
Absolutely.
Not a rebuttal. In fact, I think we're very much on the same wavelength here. Can I talk to you about what I think is the most un-American tax that exists? It is called the death tax. I mean, can you imagine you work your whole life building up, you know, your small business or your family farm through no help of the government, and then when you die, Uncle Sam swoops in and takes up more than half of what you spent your whole lifetime earning. The death tax is the number one reason family farms aren't passed down to the next generation. Number one reason small businesses aren't passed down to the next generation. And we have now a new group of entrepreneurs, women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. Minority-owned who used to think that was only for the wealthy, and now they're building up that first generation of wealth, and Uncle Sam's stepping to it. I lead the Death Tax Coalition in the House, 42 organizations from the farm bureaus to NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses. Our goal is to eliminate the death tax forever. And in the meantime, with this Democrat Congress, because you're right, this spending is driving so much of this. The president's proposed $2 trillion of tax increases. We're trying to find in this Democrat Congress a compromise that allows our farms and our businesses to survive.